As the Dark Knight's ongoing war against the man known as Bane spills over to Bruce's closest friends, will all their lives be forever changed? Well, let's hop into the pages of Absolute Batman issue number 12 and find out together, shall we? So then, first things first, a little correction from the previous video. I was actually wrong. Batman didn't really have a big climactic showdown with Bane wherein he lost an arm. That was just Alfred imagining what that fight could be. I probably should have clocked it sooner because, as you'll remember, Batman had managed to escape Arkham with the help of his old friend Waylon Jones, who has officially been transformed into this universe's answer to Killer Croc. Bruce thanks Croc for saving him, and Waylon asks him to return the favor. Oh, he doesn't mean work hard to find a cure. Oh no, he literally means the only way to properly save his life at this point and release him from this new monstrous hunger is if Batman takes his life. Naturally, Bruce refuses to do that, and Waylon gets, well, pretty understandably upset. And if that heartbreaking exchange between two friends really got to you, well, strap on in because the whole issue is filled with stuff like this. One surprising little aside, though, actually involves another flashback to young Bruce and Selina. Apparently, they almost moved in together and started living life like a normal, happy couple, but Bruce, being the good, loyal friend that he was, simply couldn't forget about Waylon and his big fight against Bibbo Bobowski coming up. Selina was certain that he would lose and that it would lead to heartbreak for both men, so she offered up the idea that maybe they shouldn't play fair, maybe they should start trying to lean on Bibbo's benefactor, who turns out to be none other than Falcone. Now, back in the present, Bruce ends up coming to in what passes as the Batcave in this universe. Agent Alfred managed to fish him out of the sewers and did everything he could to try and nurse Batman back to health, which is easier said than done considering the horrifying venom experiments that he was subjected to back in Arkham. In fact, there's still a venom pump inside his body that neither men exactly know how to get out of him right now, and would you believe it if I said Bruce actually got off easy, as we will find out. First things first, now that Bruce is back in Gotham City, he decides to check on in with his mother, who has obviously been going crazy for the last month after him disappearing with no trace and returning under equally suspicious circumstances. I have to wonder if their conversation hadn't turned to the fate of Batman's friends in the Crime Alley crew, if he might very well have come out and revealed his double life to his mother. Oh, but indeed the conversation does change as Martha lets it slip that Oz is in the hospital right now. Bruce pulls some strings with his friend, the former Commissioner Gordon, who he actually calls Mr. Gordon in this universe, which I find interesting. It's also in this issue too, we see Oz's attending doctor is actually none other than Leslie Tompkins, making her first Absolute Universe appearance. Now, what exactly did happen to the man who would be Penguin? Well, as you'll recall in the previous issue, Bane talked about the best way to break Batman would be by going after his support network and breaking them first, which is exactly what Bane did, subjecting everyone in the Crime Alley crew to horrifying, monstrous, life-changing, and unfortunately deeply ironic attacks, starting with Oswald, who Bane sized up as being a little man, someone who always wanted to be more than what he was. It's why he worked out, it's why he wore lifts in his shoes, and strived for such respect in the underworld. For these things, Bane decided to surgically break every bone in his body to dust, while leaving all of his organs untouched, meaning that if when Oswald recovers, he will live the rest of his life in horrible, debilitating pain, and also be about 2 inches shorter. Again, hey, grim irony. As it would turn out, Harvey Dent is recovering in the next room. You can probably guess what Bane did to him. 3rd and 4th degree burns over the left side of his body, as well as a cracked skull, which has left him with some rather serious brain damage. Why only mess up half of Harvey's body? Well, as Bane says, Harvey strived to be the adult of his friend group, to be the mature one, but he was also a man living in 2 worlds, attempting to achieve legitimate power in the mayor's office while also still hanging out with all of his friends from the bad neighborhood. In short, he was being two-faced. Also, instead of having a coin, he flips a poker chip here, which is symbolic of his relationship to his friends and their poker games. Harvey gets some real cutting last words in too to Bruce, saying that he blames him for everything that happened, but that he'll only hate him half the time. For my money, though, the person who actually got it the worst was Edward Nygma. He's not at the hospital, as he has returned to his workshop to try and repair the damage Bane did to him himself. Basically, Bane crushed his eyes and put his fingers in his brain. Now Edward can only think in questions and took pieces pieces of his own Riddler robot to try and rebuild himself, complete with exposed brain pan. Oh my god, he's Chop Top from Texas Chainsaw. He also leaves Bruce with some pretty grim final words. Riddle me this, what are you going to do now? And indeed, Batman isn't sure. After all the horrible suffering that's been delivered on those closest to him, he briefly thinks about packing it in. He even tells the mysterious leader of the Red Hood gang to stand down. It's right around here at his absolute lowest. During the dark night of his soul, Alfred steps on in and actually does probably the first real Alfred-ish thing he's done. He basically tells him he can't back out now. If he does, then everything that's happened will have been for nothing. And that if Bane loves war so much, then they're gonna give him a war he'll never forget. Before eventually pulling out a giant Gatling gun. I like it doesn't matter what universe we're in, Alfred stays strapped. It's also at that moment too an alarm goes off in the not quite Batcave. At first they naturally assume that it's Bane coming to finish them off once and for all. But when a high-tech whip ends up taking Alfred out, it's made abundantly clear that who we're really dealing with is the absolute version of Catwoman, who, as the comic comes to a close, calls Bruce by name. The big question, though, is she friend or is she foe? And so that was Absolute Batman issue number 12, everybody, and once again, I'm really loving what Scott Snyder and company are laying down here. I know I talked in previous issues about how much I loved the idea that Scott Snyder is really drawing on his history as a horror writer and infusing it into the Batman world, and especially the villains, like never before. And here in this issue, I don't think he can deny it anymore. There's so many great references and allusions to horror movies. Batman's rogues were always gothic in nature, but here they are straight up body horror creatures. It is maybe a little weird that Bane is responsible for all of their origins in one way or another, and that they managed to turn like 3 of them all at once. I mean, I guess it's an alternate universe, and we all know that it was probably going to happen eventually, and we were all just waiting for the clock to tick down on that one. And maybe this is just a personal taste thing, but I might have drawn out the anticipation for a little bit longer. I think the most fascinating thing about this turn, too, is even though Batman's friends have been transformed, they've been broken, quote-unquote, by Bane, there's still no promise that they will become traditional supervillains. In fact, because Absolute Batman has this basis of friendship with all of them, I would actually really love to see him kind of get them back on his side. After all, the big threat is Joker and Darkseid and so many other things in the Absolute universe. I think it would be cool if everyone found a way to unite for the greater good. There's also the big mystery too about Catwoman. It looked like her and Bruce were actually going to live happily ever after at a point. What exactly changed, and was that the thing that spurred Bruce on to finally become Batman? I don't know, but I'm definitely invested to find out. Overall, I would give this one another uber positive 8.5 out of 10, and I cannot wait to see what happens next.
Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow, and help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye bye.